Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Arvind Singh, sir.
नमस्कार
morning, sir.
नमस्कार
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.
नमस्कार प्रोफेसर जाना जी
Raut Rai, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to everybody.
Yeah. Good morning.
Sir, RP Singh sir, good morning sir. This is Srinagar sir.
हाँ नमस्कार नमस्कार
Namaskar
प्रोफेसर
sir. Namaskar sir.
प्रोफेसर श्रीनगर
अरे नमस्कार
Jana sir, namaskar sir. Rautre sir, namaskar sir.
नमस्ते आरपी सिंह सर जी
Nagrale sir.
प्रोफेसर नगराले
Good morning sir. Namaste.
हाँ नमस्कार नमस्कार प्रोफेसर नगराले जी
जाना साहब
हाँ नमस्कार.
एवरीवन नमस्ते नमस्ते
अरे नगराले जी नमस्कार.
नमस्कार जाना जी मैंने बोला आपको सादर नमस्कार बोल दिया आप ध्यान नहीं देते
नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम है सर, इसीलिए शायद.
है जाना सर ने आपको भी रिमाइंड किया था ही इज वेरी पंक्चुअल प्रोफेसर जाना
Yeah.
Shall we start?
Yes.
Saifujaman.
Yes, sir.
Let's
Good
start.
morning.
Good morning. Snapshot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will do that.
Now,
Okay.
Yeah.
Shall
Now
we start,
we
sir?
can start. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Sure.
With permission of our chief guest, I'm going to start this webinar. Good morning to all of you. On behalf of the conveners of this webinar, I, Saifujaman Tarafdar, Assistant Professor of Geography of this college, express thanks and warm greetings to all of you. COVID-19 forced us into a new normal condition where everything is adjusted to suit the changing situation. We have also come forward to cope up with this new normal condition in the academia and organize this web seminar. We have got many eminent academicians across the world and from different disciplines and from different areas of geographic research. I want to express my deep gratitude to all of our resource persons for giving us their valuable time. Hope we will be enriched by their speeches. I want to thank all the participants for joining us because without participants, a seminar or conference cannot be succeeded. It is a place where exchange of new thoughts and ideas happens and new ideas emerge. Now, this is the time for welcome address. For some technical reasons, our principal could not join us today, but we have with us Dr. Pulak Kumar Kundu, Associate Professor of History and Coordinator, IQAC of this college. He is also the Joint Organizing Secretary of this webinar. So I am requesting him to deliver the welcome address. Please, sir.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Good morning to our academicians, guests, and colleagues. Welcome to the international webinar on researching in geography and allied disciplines, pre and post COVID-19 pandemic situation. I would like to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Professor R.B. Singh, Delhi School of Economics, Professor J.K. Rautri, Thailand, Professor B. Sringesh, Osmania University, Professor S. Chandra Jana, and S. Sengupta, University of Burdwan, Dr. A.G. William, University of PH, Hungary, Professor A. Banerjee, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Professor A. Jana, Professor Nagarale, Professor Chauhan, University of Bongo, Dr. A. Misro, Vice Principal of Itar College, for accepting our invitation. Now, it is needless to emphasize that COVID-19 has been threatening human health, life production, social functioning, and even human relationships. The acceleration of urbanization, increased concentration of population, migration of labor class, complex interaction, and shortage of medical protection in developing countries. Now, all these increase the difficulties of the prevention and control of COVID-19. The outbreak of COVID-19 has again raised the question of demographic problem in settlement pattern, varying patterns of disease circulation, lack of sense of human behavior, lack of sense of sanitization, and nutrition. Now, the most pertinent question is, what will be our role in this situation? Now, I think geography is unique in bringing together the social science and natural science. There are two main branches, human geography and physical geography. Human geography is concerned with the spatial aspects of human existence. On the other hand, physical geography is concerned with the pattern of climate, landform, vegetation, soil, and water. Now, geographers have been using many technologies such as GSI, GPS, online mapping, and etc. Now, many hypotheses about the epidemic impact of changing continents are frustrated by lack of data. In the fight against COVID-19, GIS, Geographic Information System, and big data technologies can play an important role in many aspects, including the rapid aggregation of multi-source big data, rapid visualization of epidemic information, spatial tracking of confirmed cases, prediction of regional and transmission, support for decision making. Now, you see, GIS has already developed and matured and has a complete technological route for data preparation, platform construction, model construction, and map production. The main challenge is finding strategies to adjust traditional technical methods and improve speed and accuracy of information provision for social management. In the age of big data, data no longer come mainly from the government, but can be gathered from more diverse enterprises. As a result, the use of GIS faces difficulties, data acquisition and integration of heterogeneous data, which requires government, business sectors, and academicians and academic institutions to jointly promote the formulation of relevant policies. Now, you see, geographers, medical scientists, sociologists, and even historians can work together through an interdisciplinary approach. It may be noted that disease has also its past history. Now, it will be, now I've heartily request Professor R.V. Singh to address the session and share his views in this regard. Thank you one all for bothering me throughout these 5 minutes. I would like to convey best wishes for grand success of the webinar. Thanking you all.
So, can I start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Dr. Pulak Kumar Kundu, other organization, committee, our principal, Dr. Asim Kumar Sarkar, Saifujjaman, Tarafdar, Satyajit Paul, and I could recognize many our colleagues, distinguished colleagues, well-known geographer, Professor Rautroy, Professor Jana, Professor Sri Nagesh, Professor Nagrale, Dr. Mukund Misra, Dr. Pradeep Chauhan, and several other colleagues very active in the field of geography. We all are meeting here for congratulating Gaur Mahavidyalaya for organizing this very important event on title Researching in Geography and an Allied Discipline, pre and post COVID-19 pandemic situation. You know, COVID-19 explored many areas of concern, and just now Dr. Kundu also emphasized few of them. As we are discussing researching in geography, geography very unique discipline. By natural processes, how society produce, organize, use and misuse environments and resources, and how society themselves are influenced by environment in which we all are located. Geography is emerging as an integrating science into both natural and human realms of Dr. Kundu and their interaction, focusing on a space, places, and regions. We question both short-term processes, not only the geomorphic processes, but the human driving processes and their resultant patterns. As you know, you cannot understand geomorphic processes unless you understand human driving processes. Considering these all idea, International Geographical Union is working for promoting geography through initiating and coordinating geographical research and teaching in all countries of the world. So, on behalf of International Geographical Union, I would like to congratulate Gaur Mahavidyalaya and all colleagues, Saifuzzaman, Tarafdar, and Satyajit Paul for taking this initiative. Our IGU work through national committees. In case of India, Indian National Science Academy is our affiliated organization. We have 40 commissions and task forces covering a wide range of research topics within discipline of geography. So I would like to invite all our colleagues from different parts of the country to join different commissions and contribute for geographic education. As a Secretary General and Treasurer of IGU, it is a great honor for me to participate in this important initiative. You know, while looking the word researching in geography, particularly in the context of pre and post-COVID situation, three questions resound in my mind. First, regarding the origin of this viral outbreak diseases. If you will see chikungunya, swine flu, Zika virus, Nipah virus, COVID-19, majority of these viral diseases originated from wild animals. So you can understand from your own perception how we are very closely researching environmental phenomena. So wild animals, these aspects we have to explore. Geography is discovery. Geography is exploration. And so it provides a great opportunity for us to explore these environmental resources, ecosystem services, how it is influencing. Second important area I would like to identify: urban environment, infectious diseases. So what I would like to say that we used to work very closely with the urban environment. Present century is an Asian century. And I would like to use the word Asian urban century. Most of the mega cities are located in Asia. And we have also origin of these diseases, infectious diseases, largely coming from urban environment. 55% of urban world population lived in urban areas. That is expected to increase 68% by 2050. So you can understand from your own perception how this aspect is very important for us. Cities are also the places with highest population density. Throughout history, cities have been the sites of infectious diseases, outbreaks. And so that is why we get a unique challenge to those leading response, as was evident in case of Ebola, SARS, MERS, and now COVID-19. City are also be the sites of solution to arrest the spread of infectious diseases and improve population health. Another important area, third important area I would like to identify in this pre and post COVID-19 is a migration. Migration, what you might have observed, how this migration took place from big city like Mumbai, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, Delhi, to Orissa, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar. Migrants and refugees, these relationships very important role played, critical role played in response and recovery efforts of the pandemic. This community has provided leadership to design and implement recovery plans within city, as well as leadership to mobilize action. You know, you might have seen many mayors around the world have taken pragmatic action to ensure no one get behind by removing obstacles, licensing barriers for immigrant doctors to allow them to provide patient care during the pandemic. These and other efforts will be essential for rebuild. Another important area I would like to the short-term and long-term impact of COVID-19 pandemic. You know, this pandemic have, and not only this, but other also have affected the economy of various countries across the world. This economic crisis has initiated a wide-scale reverse migration, which has posed the question of livelihood before many people. So I like the idea, you know, you are also researching a livelihood, means of living, unlocks in various phases to restart the economic activity, have again, you know, brought the lot of possibility of wide-scale migration. The government has taken many steps, community have taken many steps, and we have to examine these. We had to identify success and failures. The effect of this unforeseen worldwide crisis in different migrant groups vary across the region. And so that is why it is very important to see the short and long-term migration. Another important area, you know, one can see unique manifestation of vulnerable groups. Old age people, particular geographical location, individual, age groups, or working classes. Dear colleagues, we have to see the socio-economic transformation of society due to this spillover of the virus, initially causing the urban health hazard, and then now totally transforming the society and economic transformation throughout the region. Impact is diverse. A conventional local grocery shop to the multinational corporate houses, all are affected. Through the channels of impact are different. If you analyze the long-term impact study, then you have to take the linkages between economy, society, culture, psychology, and politics. Long period of long time lockdown all over the globe has resulted in environmental regeneration and diminishing of the pollution level. On the other hand, the lockdown has affected the economy to initiate another recession. The interconnection of these forces have a very significant bearing on life, space, and time. And as you know, geography is researching, geographers are researching these three challenging areas: life and livelihood, space, and time. Interrelationship between all these diverse is dynamic, and they change drastically with time and space. And we use the timing, space, and spacing time. Dear colleagues, it is very important for us to examine this economic impact and how we can create the manufacturing hubs for the country, because manufacturing hubs create the national wealth. We have to improve trust, business trust, supply chain. We have to compete with South Korea, compete with Taiwan, compete with Malaysia, Indonesia, Mexico. And we can, through creating the manufacturing hubs, we can have the supply chain and we can improve our. In this context, we should not forget green energy technology. You know, we have match with transnational interpretation. We have educated a lot of taken the many areas. Artificial intelligence and deep technology, you know, in ways, dual technology thing can be economic in our action. Or important. here under Vande Bharat investment, we area to region. We are a global city. You know, really hopes agriculture such a level is very large. I like to clearly, we lost revenue due to COVID-19 point of percent of organized hotel stores, 20 lakh crore package by government. Dear colleagues, people, rural to region. How we can do? We can do surrounding all town headquarters. We are sharing. We have free. We have husbandry. We have lacking processing, lacking marketing. If you see 90% of agricultural product go selling in developed, but in developing countries hardly 20%. We have in this type of system where we can process, we can market so that people from the big quarter during time did we can go with and sometimes I products. So people it will help for good, if the local region will find I think we and when we go 130 digital for agriculture, we or and so dear so and this can be important for competitive policy regarding exactly the few plan and like area lot of migrant came from and city. We have like when uh, enhanced by in which all water groups. A state has a water area and why not interlink these water surface area? In this test, I like to bring the feedback and what is like this because more parties and migrants are also
Are we seeing, sir?
this.
Are we seeing, sir?
Yes.
Audio is not clear. I think due to network issues. Please turn off your videos. Then we think we can hear you properly. Because audio is not clear. Okay, sir. Continue.
Oh, okay. So, dear colleague, another important point I would like to bring before you is it okay?
Yes, sir. Okay now. Okay now, sir.
Yeah. Another important area I would like to ensuring health lives and promote well-being for all ages. And I would like to put before you a national picture. You know, if you'll see southern states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, these are the states where we have more better performance. If you will take the economic and healthcare indicators. But the northern states like Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, West Bengal, again the northeastern states like Assam are lagging behind. So focus must be given in such area, particularly not only improving the health services, but I would like to bring before you another important word, health communication. You know, I would like to devote a few minutes on food technology, where, you know, West Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, they can play a very important role. And particularly, I would like to highlight the crops which are disappearing: bajra, ragi, jawar. You know, these are so nutritious in comparison of the other, you know, wheat. And we have technology. I have been associated with the Central Food Technological Research Institute as a chair of the Research Council. And you know, they have technology like expanded bajra, self-stable bajra flour, instant ragi, bread with ragi and bajra, cookie from ragi and bajra, muffin from ragi and bajra, many technology from jawar, jawar flakes, self-stable jawar flour, nutritious millet flour, millet semolina, multigrain sweet mix, ragi, you know, many technology developed through ragi, ragi rusk, ragi noodles, ragi papad, ragi roti, ragi snack, ragi flakes, ragi mix malted latte. So what I would like to say that geographers can identify, take the 5 important fruit producing states like Maharashtra. Maharashtra recently, strawberry, pomegranate, then traditional, like orange, banana, Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu. These are the important, fruit producing states where, we can bring the fruits related technology. Which are the vegetable producing states? Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat. These are the largest vegetable producing states where we can bring the vegetable related technology. Spices. Which are the states? Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Telangana, where we can bring the spices related technology. Flowers, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, West Bengal. So, dear colleague, we have the important, area where geographers can explore. We have been researching land use, agricultural geography. It is very time has come to link with the food technology. I would like to bring before you here how we can make India as a global supplier of the different global supply chain hub. For that, we have to focus on performance and productivity of the few important area. For that, we have to develop the strategic planning, innovative thinking we have to bring. We have to bring response effectively. Many technology can solve the real world problem. Quality of life in our Indian society, food security, genetic engineering, forecasting climate change, model for forecast, many computational model we can develop. We have a space technology, blockchain technology, aerospace engineering. We are not able to utilize for solving the common problem. And what are these common? Food processing. First important area, already I highlighted, food processing. Another important area where West Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh can play a very important role, organic farming. These products will be very, very also costlier. Farmers can get the high income. We can double the income of farmers. So we have to move towards the organic farming. Iron and steel, that is our traditional area. I think that can be a very, very important. Together with aluminum and copper, agrochemicals. We should not forget electronics surrounding to Delhi, surrounding to Hyderabad, surrounding to Bangalore. Many electronic cities are coming up, or these are not becoming phenomena of the past. Dear colleague, I think India should focus on heavy industry and industrial machinery. Through this, I think we can we have focused a lot on telecommunication. And how we can achieve this? Infrastructure project, new materials technology, new way of thinking, and particularly, early warning system, community, how community can use this early warning system. I think many examples we have, like, and many successful stories show the way in India, how India can move, how we can improve our technological and knowledge base, how, we can bring impact all over the world. Indian science and technology must bring impact all over the world through furniture technology, leather and shoes, auto parts, textile industry in West Bengal and UP, surrounding to Hooghly rivers. So many, all were closed during 60s and 70s. We have to revive. Jute mills, 100 jute mills were there surrounding to Hooghly rivers. And, these textiles and jute mills can bring glory for India. Even a small country like, Bangladesh, you see, we have to take lesson also. How on this, they did a lot of progress on textiles. Last important area I would like to highlight, medical supplies, particularly PPEs, masks, sanitizers, ventilators, and, medicines. We have supplied during the COVID-19 to more than 100 countries, different type of the, these facilities, medical supplies, and also the medicines. I think India is contributing a lot for medicine production. So through these technological innovation, we can develop the region-specific business development model across industry, across region, across different community, across different space. These knowledge creation, which establish manufacturing hub for the global supply chain. And another important area, I think geographers should utilize developing digital infrastructure. Dear colleagues, we have to utilize digital library, national library resources. Various places we have the, a different type of the phenomenon. 600 million people all over the country can utilize the digital ecosystem so that we can mitigate the risk. We can bring the resources for the human welfare and well-being. Another important area we have to link with a smart city. And these smart city will not move without a smart villages. How a smart villages we can? Geographers can bring the smart villages by linking with livelihoods, by linking with rural tourism. So that is why, dear colleague, now I would like to conclude. We have the many distinguished colleagues, waiting for lectures. Local economy, how can play a very central role in the post-COVID-19 recovery. That should be our objective. We can develop robust and flexible infrastructure, enabling critical services to reach the community, enhancing a startup and using the already a startup facility in the university level, college level, and then, we have to inculcate fundamental curiosity among the, young population regarding the different mega science project, IT, telecommunication, biomedical research for sharpening and articulating national priorities. Dear colleagues, we have to re-establish India as a, a global power, economic power, and for that we have to take the lesson from other countries, other successful stories, science, and only possible through science and innovation. By bringing science and innovation in confluence of the mind of young population, so that we can have a long-lasting association, with the community, our village community, improving research ecosystem in India. We have to bring rich and productive research. That is the core of human progress, and that is possible when we can have scientific curiosity, digital, innovation, major mission. We have to utilize supercomputing, cyber security, a skilled human research. Many hubs have been, established. We have to utilize. We have to identify, some of the clusters like Makhana, Kesar in the Jammu Kashmir, such type of the Hilsa fish in the Hooghly River, such type of the geographical indication will bring glory, and we can integrate, inclusive and adaptive decision-making process. Finally, I would like to say that, dear colleagues, science for development, for reducing migration and improving livelihood is a need of the hour. Science policy interface geographers should utilize to contribute towards sustainable development, taking into consideration of socially deprived section of society like tribals, Dalit. We have to utilize platform for development, particularly the youth platform. All our, colleges should create youth clubs, SDG clubs for contributing to our society, and we can develop community and policy relevant analysis. Last, I would like to conclude that this webinar will surely be a platform for dialogue and deliberation for short and long-term impact of COVID-19 from migration point of view to tourism, livelihood, which will open up a new space for field of geography and provide insight for the policymakers and civil society organizations in India. I convey my warm greetings and best wishes to organizers, Dr. Asim Kumar Sarkar, Principal, Dr. Kundu, Dr. Saiful Tarafkar, and Satyajit Paul for thoughtfully organizing this webinar, and the participants for showing interest in this, like my very distinguished colleagues, Professor Jana, Professor Srinagesh, Professor Nagrale, taking interest and contributing to this seminar for creating, knowledge base in enriching learning process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, and our chief guest, Professor R.B. Singh, for your informative speech. You have opened in front of us a wide area of geographic research. Thank you for that, sir. And we always wish you a very healthy life. Sir, please be with us always and give us suggestions to improve ourselves. Thank you, sir. Now I am requesting Mr. Satyajit Pal for his convener's note. Please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jamala. Thank
They
you.
all are
First of all,
requested
thank
to put up their videos and audio, otherwise it is creating disturbance.
Yes, I would like to request all of the participants to mute their audio while in one presenting. And first of all, thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor R.B. Singh, sir, for your delightful and nice speech. We are very delighted to having you with us in our webinar. Professor Singh, the Secretary General and Treasurer of International Geographical Union, member of International Science Council, member of Vision of India 2035 Niti Aayog, Government India invited him to member of prestigious committee to prepare Vision India for 2035, chairman of
Satyajit,
yeah. Am I not audible?
Yes, Satyajit, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you, sir, former professor of and head of Department of Geography, Delhi School of Economics. And as Professor R.B. Singh stated that the wave of novel coronavirus affected most of the countries in the world, and over the few months, it has drastically changes everything from the global economy to everyday life. Limitation on traveling, self-isolation, quarantine, and social physical distancing have led a major disruption of our daily life of every people in the world. The pandemic also severely affected the teaching learning processes of educational institutions, which is future or backbone of any country. All kinds of research activities and are severely affected by this pandemic, especially the social science subjects like education, sociology, political science, and mostly the geography, which is highly depends on field-based research and activities. In these circumstances, the aim of our international webinar to explore the alternative ways and manage the pandemic situation and carry out the research smoothly in geography as well as other allied disciplines. We are expecting this webinar would also likely to find out the future management strategies as Sir Professor R.B. Singh said, uh, the various aspects of geography like demography, economy, livelihood, tourism, environmental sustainability, population issues, and livelihood changes. Educational and other change management also is a part of our webinar. And in the we'd like to focus on the pandemic situation, and we are living in the pandemic situation or new normal situation, and we are also looking forward the post-pandemic situation, the research capabilities or research way of the geography, which Sir already stated. With that said, I like to convey my thanks and gratitude to our chief guest, Dr. R.V. Singh, again. And with that said, I would like to going to start our first session of this webinar. For the session, we have with us Dr. Professor Nilanjana Das Chatterjee, Department of Geography, Environment and Management, Vidyasagar University, as a chairperson. Dr. Mukundu Mishra, Vice Principal, Meghna Shah College, Dr. Meghna Shah College, Itahar, India, as a co-chairperson. Dr. Sumashish Gupta, Department of Geography, University of Burdwan, India, as a moderator, and Mr. Noni Gopal Kapasya, HOD, Department of Geography, Malda College, and Mr. Sanjay Ghosh, SAC, Department of Geography, Gaur Mahavidyalaya. I'd like to request Dr. Sumashish Gupta to run this session. Please, sir, start this session and run the first session of our webinar.
Okay, hello. Am I audible to all?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, since we are running short of time, so I would directly go for introduction and start the seminar. So first of all, I request Dr. Nilanjana Das Chatterjee, Department of Geography and Environmental Management, Vidyasagar University. So, Madam, can we start the session?
Sure. Please start.
Okay. So, in this session, in this session, we are having Professor Dr. Jayant K. Roy, Professor B. Srinagesh, and Dr. Virendra Nagrale for giving their valuable lecture. So, I would first introduce Professor Dr. Jayant K. Roy. Professor Roy is currently holding the title of Professor Emeritus at Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand since September 2018. Formerly, he worked at the Department of Geography, Utkal University as lecturer and reader, and National Institute of Rural Development as Assistant Director of Integrated Area Planning during the 1970s, 9 and 80s. He has more than 150 publications, which includes a number of books, chapters, journal articles, and also a lot of international publications. He has guided and about 30 doctoral and 147 master candidates, and he is also a reviewer of research articles of about 30 international journals, books, and grant proposals. His area of academic interests are in regional planning and rural development, disaster risk reduction and management, and climate change related to socio-economic and adaptation issues. He had successfully performed project activities with Food and Agriculture Organization, United Nations Development Program, International Labour Organizations, United Nations Education Program, United Nations Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and many other reputed organizations. He is a fellow of Royal Geographical Society, London, and therefore we are, in fact, his introduction, if we actually give his introduction, then it will take a lot of time. He has been such a distinguished speaker. He has been such a distinguished geographer. So without wasting any further time, I would request Professor Roy to deliver his valuable lectures, which will enrich us in this webinar. Thank you. Sir, hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
You will make my presentation from there, or I'll try to put my slides on.
Sir, you put your slides on. Actually, that will be better.
Okay, so I'm just trying. Can you try from there? I have difficulty. You have my presentation file, right? Hello. So can you?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, you please show my slides from there. I'll speak from here. So I have difficulty in uploading my file for presentation.
Okay, sir.
You try, and I'm starting now. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and this is my pleasure to be part of this webinar. And Professor R.B. Singh and the conveners and organizers of this particular webinar, and distinguished professors and speakers and fellow participants. Yes, now it is all right. It is visible. And make it full screen. Make it full screen. And I think the organizers will provide my slides to all of you for your reference. And I have chosen the topic, Coping with COVID-19, a reflection on realities in India. And just a few minutes ago, I also posted a number of research topics connected with COVID-19. That is for your reference, because the theme of this particular webinar is researching in geography and allied disciplines pre and post COVID-19 pandemic situation. So in that context, so please move on, don't wait for my instruction, and I'll cope up. And then I have an abstract, and you can read later my abstract. And then the third slides, please go to the third slides, that is background of COVID-19. And just for your updatation, I think a very common thing, it has been transmitted to 213 countries. And as of 1st October 20, it has caused 34 million population, those who are affected, and globally, and with 1.01 million deaths. And in Indian situation is very grave. We are second after US, and so far we have 6.31 million population affected. And just up to today morning news, we have crossed 1 lakh deaths. So this is the kind of the background. And then the next slide, this is about coping. And based on my experience as a faculty of disaster preparedness, mitigation, and management, I did a lot of research in the context of natural disaster. And therefore, this pandemic COVID-19 is like a health disaster and globally felt by everybody. Then I thought how to cope with this particular situation. And coping is a very common terminology used in disaster science and also in other, subjects. And let's see way to deal successfully, to deal successfully a difficult situation and adjusting to the lifestyle with the disaster, and finally living with it in the absence of long-term solution. And if we want to cope, then we have to have a very clear-cut understanding about COVID-19 and its dreadfulness about health and characteristics, and also potential impacts on health, socio-economic, psychological, and environmental things. And also, it is difficult from other types of natural and man-made disasters, and we cannot equate, so we have to think in a very different frame of mind. And then we have to also understand related stresses and associated risk factors with COVID-19. And then we have to create awareness, understanding among the common people about the available options for overcoming this kind of health disaster. And then we have to minimize the exposure level. If we can, then we can live with it. So when I chose this topic and why this coping strategy, and I have several points. And recent it's a serological survey too in India, and they have found out that 1 in 15 persons are affected by COVID-19, and age group belongs to 10 years and above. When they're exposed, this is the kind of situation. And then the infection estimated about 6.6% of the total population. And if you calculate, and it will be something like 7 to 8 crores of people, they are also going to be impacted, or they are in infection, minor or major. This is the kind of recent survey. And you can find, say among adults, it is more, 7.1%. And then it is very, very prevalent in metropolitan cities because of the density and congestion factor. And it is more in urban slums, about 15.6%. These are all I have taken from a recent research study. And non-slum may be less, 8.2%. So this is the kind of situation that we are facing right now. And what are other things like, there is always a claim that we are now in the, downward trend. Difficult to believe this kind of statement made by different state governments and also central government. and because of two reasons, that the number of testings is less, and if we increase the number of testing, probably the statistics will be different. So therefore, what I realize, many state government, whatever statistics they provide, and not very much reliable. Why? Because they want to show that things are under control, to highlight their management capacity. And I'm telling from my experience in this particular state. And then always it is warned that we have to be extremely careful, avoiding contamination of the child and old population beyond 60, and people with diabetes, heart ailments, cancer, asthma, and other critical diseases. So these are very common information we are getting from time to time. And in London, what they have realized, and it has come in different newspapers, that second wave is already felt, second wave. And it is also projected, third wave is also likely. So therefore, you can think in our Indian situation, and we do not know what wave now flowing in India, if it is first wave, and please keep in mind, second wave might come after some time, and we do not know how many waves will be like this. So the wave factor, UK scientists, they have done those kind of research. And then say this reinfection, a relapse of COVID is also likely. And if someone has already been affected and got recovered, and should not take for granted that, oh, I will not be affected again, and maybe immunity factor has been developed inside the body. And recently, you can find, this is reported case, one of the MLA in Odisha, he is suffering from second time COVID-19, and therefore it is a big challenge. And I see the debate in the newspaper. Indian Council of Medical Research is taking this case very seriously, and they will do further investigation why it is happening and all kinds of things. These are all scientific research, not in the domain of our area of geography. Please, next slide. And then question comes that several vaccines are under preparation, and every day in the news item you will find, it will come next month, it will come by end of December, it will come like this. So everybody is in the race: China, Russia, UK, US, India, and Israel. And most of the things are under trial, half trial, semi-trial, and so far no direct medical treatment solution is available with our hand. So this is a big thing to be noted. And if it comes on time, and then we are fortunate. And then in some scientific documents, they say there are different types of strains. So 5, 6 types of strains they have identified with COVID-19. And then people question whether any vaccine will work for the first strain or second strain or third, fourth, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of debates going in the scientific community, those who are doing hardcore research for inventing this kind of vaccine. And who says that, because who has all information, and what they say, that some vaccine solution may come in the middle of, 2021, but it may be postponed and it can go much later, we don't know. So everything uncertain. And then what we have to do as an individual or in the community as a group, we have to survive with precautionary measures, and that is what we are doing: mask, social distancing, hand wash, sanitization, and no public spitting. There are several things that we have to avoid, crowded places and religious activity, and so on and so forth. So therefore, we have to keep on practicing. These are part of our coping mechanism. And some scientific studies, they say, if we use mask and follow the social distancing, and we are 90% safe, chances of being affected is very little. So this is the kind of statement we get. And then from other information, lockdown, containment, and behavioral changes of the population have effectively checked the potential spread of SARS-CoV-2, meaning COVID-19. So whatever practices we have followed so far as a management practice, and it has really worked in controlling COVID-19. And finally, the literature says, and all over the world, people are very much concerned, and we don't find any sign of abating COVID-19. When it will be fully controlled and when we can finish this COVID-19. So there is no sign of any, say, indication. And then only strategy is to live with COVID. So therefore, I focus on this topic. Please go to the second, next slide. And then, so what we have to do? We have to minimize the exposure level, meaning as an individual or in the family, total family members, in the community, all community members, and so on and so forth. So we have to minimize exposures. And what are the practices going on? That we have found very useful use of mask, and everywhere you find no mask, no entry to other premises and workplaces. So mask is very vital. Washing hands with sanitizer, sanitizing the living and work environment, social distancing between 1 to 2 meters, and then reducing our mobility only for most essential and emergency activities. It is nothing new. I'm just putting in order, avoiding visiting congested and high density areas, very to be careful. And from statistics, slum areas are highly impacted by COVID-19. It is all over the world, and so also in India. And then we have to minimize or limit social and cultural activities and rituals and meetings, etc. And what we found in the state of Odisha, say the rituals, say following the death of a person in the family, and those who have attended those rituals, almost 90% of the people are say affected by COVID-19. And there are some marriage ceremony, though there is some limitation, you have to do it with 100 people, so on and so forth. And those who have attended those marriage ceremony and eaten together, and also you'll find substantial number have been suffered from this kind of thing. So this is what we have observed. And protecting children and old age population, sick persons, including COVID-19 patients under home quarantine. So what is happening now? We have to protect ourselves, and hospitals are fully say occupied and no space. And this is a common say statement made by all governments that now time to be quarantined inside the home. And if you have the facilities available, they cannot accommodate anymore in government hospitals and so on and so forth. So we have to follow the guidelines and instructions given by the WHO, Ministry of Health, both state and central governments, and they also change from time to time. We have to keep track, and the agency concerned, they have to share those information and make the community aware to be careful. And then we have to follow rigorously a high sense of hygienic practices at home and outside. So these are the things we have to follow to minimize the exposure level. And then next slide. This is next slide, please. And this is about the reflection on realities, and that is what also I focus. And in general, people are afraid and scared of going out because of coronavirus infection. This is a very common thing. Oh, I might get this, and I have to be careful. But few of them are also not very much scared. They are enjoying on the street and everything, and we have to be very careful for them. And government is bringing a punishment. Either fines and putting them into jail and so on and so forth. But some of them are very careless, and they will be the super spreaders. And so people are afraid. And then work from home is a new culture, but not for everybody. And say the vegetable vendors they cannot work from home. And there are many such things. But say formal sectors, particularly factories and business houses, and they do work from home. And running offices with 50% employees. So these are the realities, and rotation of duties and closing of schools, colleges, universities at least end of this month, and then plan to start from November. Nobody knows. We may again extend the closure of those educational institutes. And then in many cases, partially and completely close down of businesses and all types of rural and industrial production systems, partial or fully closed down. Suspension of public and private transport services. Of course, now gradually the governments are trying to reopen, but not yet fully established. And the recent statistics in Odisha, actually now the inter-district and interstate transport services in the hands of, say, private bodies, and only 10% of the total number of such buses available for this kind of transport under use, and they are under terrible pressure, so it is almost, say, closed or partially closed. And then massive flow of return migrants to their native places and rising unemployment. And this is a big issue. Switching over to new occupations. And I have seen in Bhubaneswar on the street, many people, they like those who are in construction and other type of activities, and small shops were closed. Those who were those who used to provide snacks and other things because of the restrictions, and you can find a large number of vegetable vendors on the street. And so they are also in rural areas and also in urban areas, and say grocery items and whatever we need from time to time. And some of them, they have availed opportunity under the NRGS program, and that is not enough to accommodate such return migrants. And say the number I did not mention here, and 100 million plus minus, say, return say migrants across the country. And Odisha has received 1 million plus such return migrants to our state. And then what are the opportunities? Those who are really smart, what they do something else. And sorry, so what exactly they do? And they have a lot of things to start a new say project and all that. So then one case recently I came across from Kashmir, one lady, and they were engaged with the tourism activities, but they were under terrible pressure. So what is happening now, like one lady changed her profession and started one say gift shop and followed the home delivery, and she became very fortunate, say like Lakshapati, say during this time, say a few lakhs she has generated from this kind of business. Please, next one, and so next slide, please. And then I'll show you some of the things like what is going on and how we are say managing these kind of things. And then you'll find say many say reduction in individual and family household income. That is the reality of the situation. And because say less income, so reduction in family level expenditure pattern, and major expenditure is going for health related issues, because we have to be very, very careful. This is the reality of the situation. And severe impact on families and households engaged in farming and informal sector activities, particularly wage laborers. So this is the reality of the situation. And then in cities and also in rural areas, particularly in cities, scaling of burglaries amidst job losses and economic distress. So it was there, but over the time period during COVID, you can find a substantial jump in such activities, snatching on the road, this and that. And then reduction of consumption of alcohol public places. This is very much noticed, and I am drawing those kind of experience from say Odisha state, and increasing electricity bills to AC and TV time, etc., etc. So this is the pressure, and then there is no choice because all of us are confined to the home, so we have to spend time with such kind of activities. And then investing on smartphones and phone bills for school children for their e-education, and this is a big challenge. And the families are under pressure and given priority for children's education. And now it is a fashion to me, say all these say school education say imparted through say education. So this is going on, and parents are desperate, and more time spent on home entertainment and associated expenses by subscribing to new channels, use of money, and channel for the child, channel for adult, channel for this and that, and entertainment channel. So maybe you are adding more and you are paying more. And then there is a higher reliability on home cooked food. So these are some of the reflection of realities. And please, the next slide, and then except earning members, all members are confined to home. This is the reality. And then within the home, you can find some conflicts and quarrels and harassments, and you can find a lot of things. Women harassment is noticed, and there are many such cases. All India basis also reported, but there are maybe unreported cases. And children confined to house and played with the parents and grandparents. Fortunately, those who have, and then sometimes on the community roads, and if it is safe, and then difficult to meet their needs. So this is also part of the system. And children were forced to online education, whatever available, and spend more time watching TV, cartoons, etc., and mostly in urban areas. So this is the kind of scenario. Intensification of self-studies under parental guidance, that is what going on. It is pressure to the parents and also to the children. And then high school, higher secondary, college, and even university students had undergone e-classes and online and offline examination, and it is because of due to the pressure of the UGC and followed by Supreme Court, and Odisha is a state, they decided not to have any exam, and they can manage and declare the result with the past examination. So therefore, so these are the scenarios or the practicalities that we are facing, and coping for health-related issues by Ayurvedic, homeopathic, and indigenous, medicines. So this is going on, but unrecorded. Sometimes we get some news in the local newspapers, but this is the reality of the fact. Many people, they do not have access to the health facilities. And then the technical students, they have innovated new technologies, automatic sanitizer, dispenser, and robot services for COVID hospitals. These are few cases, and developed different kinds of apps. And recently, it is good news, and today morning paper, I found it, I added that Reliance group, they have our green kit for testing the positivity of COVID-19, and it is quite effective, up to 98% sensitivity, and you can get the result within 2 hours. This is our indigenous knowledge and technique that helped us to develop such kind of machine, and approved by Indian Council of Medical Research. And this will be a substitute for RT-PCR kit. So this is a good news at least. So these are the things happening. And school teachers developed videos and teaching modules for Shiksha. I think most of you know that is a platform created by Ministry of Education. So National Teachers Platform, of course, for their own training and own exposure and sharing experience. But by the same time, they also developed a number of, teaching modules, and quite beneficial to the students, and they use it. And Odisha got the first award in a recent assessment by Ministry of Education for developing such kind of, modules and videos, etc., etc. And then coming to the, next intensification of online and e-commerce and e-services. So this you can take as a part of coping mechanism, a way for digitize India with gaps and opportunities. So it is not that, but it's helping for digitization in India as per the present government's massive mandate, but with a lot of gaps within it. But still, I see a great opportunity. It is forcing us to be digitized one way or other. So online education and examination starting from primary, secondary, and higher education. So I'll talk the gaps maybe later, focusing on this aspect later. Online shopping and grocery and day-to-day consumables rise in home delivery, online payment services, particularly through banks. And I don't know the other states, but in Odisha, we have the apps for water, electricity, and telephone bills. And of course, something may be available in other states too, those who are under Government of India control, like telephone bills. And online payment for land tax and Government of Odisha introduced e-Pauti, so you can pay your land tax. And then municipal holding tax also paid through the online platform in Odisha. Online order for food from restaurants and bakery shops, this is a common affair, everywhere in India, and this has gone up. Then online banking, use of credit and debit cards, and use of Paytm, Phone Pay, and Google Pay, and also Amazon Pay, etc., for financial transaction. Then online webinars like this, and during this period, at least I attended 12 webinars, and where I also delivered 4 to 5 webinars like this. So it has been increased, and it has a positive symbol, and then we can do such kind of things with little cost or no cost, and then we can get ourselves updated, educated, and experienced, and so on and so forth. And coming to the next slide, already it is there, and then intensification of online and e-commerce and services. So this is also part of coping mechanism, and online training and certificate courses. Every time I get through emails and then some advertisement, hey, these are the trainings and certificate courses available for you, and you can upgrade your qualification. And a good opportunity. Some of them are free, and some of them also highly priced. And online periodic business and party meetings, very common. And then online participation of MLAs and MPs selected, but not all of them, in Assembly and Parliament sessions recently held, and some of them are going on. In my state now, Assembly is going on. Then online interviews and recruitments, only selected. And this time students are very much frustrated, particularly the engineering students, and they're waiting for their placement, and they are going through such kind of interviews and in the selection process. And as such, job market is very, very slow and poor at this point of time. Then online health services through telemedicine, and this is very, very common because it's all outdoor unit close by both private and government hospitals. So therefore, telemedicine is the only way. If you know your doctor, and then you can contact. And even if you don't know anybody, you can find out who are the doctors available to provide you guidance on telemedicine, and then you can use that telemedicine for your other ailments, not necessarily for COVID-19. And online lessons for maintaining hygienic standards by Food Safety and Standards for Food Authority of India. So they have also given different kinds of lesson, and I found it is quite interesting, and you may also check and go through it. And what is the next one? So let us see that coping strategy recently escaped one more, and then coping strategy for conducting Bihar general election. It is coming, and you know what are the arrangements have been made. That will be say common, I think, strategy for the elections coming in future if this scenario continues. So Bihar has 72.9 million voters, and physical campaigning is restricted only on designated grounds, and that too maintaining social distancing. But how far it will be really effective, we have to wait and see. And digital campaigns via social media, it was used in the past election, and I think it will be continued again for parties and candidates. The reduction of voters for both limited to 1,000 only. Then what they have done, 7 lakh sanitizers stocked for use by voters, and 70 million drones stocked for voters, 4.6 million masks stocked for the election, and 6 lakh PP kits, 7.6 lakh face shields, and 23 lakh gloves stocked for the polling and security officials. You see, these are the coping things as a part of conducting a general election. I think some good lessons to be learned afterwards. We'll see that how nicely the election was conducted without transmitting COVID-19 further. And then coming to the realities of education, So I have few points, and this is one of the important thing, and it is a very common practice now everywhere. And I will just cite some examples from the experiences in Odisha. Under say, education, I think teachers were not prepared for it, and they are under pressure to prepare different lessons and modules, and for different stages of education, starting from say KG to PG, and first pressure on the teachers. And I checked with my nearest university through my friends and colleagues. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, we are under pressure, and vice chancellor is telling, hey, you take 2-3 modules, and just to satisfy the vice chancellor's order, we have only 2-3, and we just write mails. You read this, read that, but that is not e-education. So this is the reality of the situation, and all of you are in the teaching, and you know how much justice you have given under this for your own students. And then students need desktop, tablet, and smartphones. It involves cost, and all cannot afford to it. And this is additional financial pressure on parents to purchase and provide smartphones, or say sharing phone within the family for other purposes. And many students do not have smartphones, and they share with their friends if the friend is nearby. And in rural areas, people move from one house to another, and they manage because they feel rural areas are relatively safe, and they can share, sit together, and even they are using without using mask and taking precautionary measures. Then say the question of availability of power. Everybody talks 24/7, meaning 24 hours, 7 days should be power available, and our networks, say all mobile networks, satellite networks should work in a way to facilitate our e-transactions, e-education. And then it is problematic in rural, remote areas, tribal areas. And what is happening? And you might have come across and children, school children, they walk 2-3 kilometers to the hilltops, and then they climb big trees, and then water towers to get the network in tribal areas, but not a very good network, and then very risky, and then weak connection. And this is not practical in adopting online education, because those who have access, they get some benefit. Those who do not have access, they get nothing. So this is the kind of have and have nots, and some get and many do not get. And then the other point is Odisha government also introduced education through radio from 28 September last month, from class 1 to class 8, and it will be on every day with different time slots, but the time of education is only 15 minutes. And I don't know, I have not seen what kind of curriculum they have and what exactly they are going to provide within 15 minutes. And this is not a right way. And this may be the easy education or education through radio or television. They may be additional input, but not really replacing our regular teaching activities. And so we are doing many things as a part of coping, and some of them are quite good, some of them, those kind of coping practices, depriving also many under this kind of scenario. Then schools are closed until first week of November, and it will be closed further depending on COVID situation. And my feeling and my say guesstimation, and it is not going to be halted so soon. And I think say all concerned authorities, government have to reconsider to extend further. And classroom education cannot be substituted by online education, and online education may be used for additional inputs, and online particularly serves the ad hoc requirement, but not the desired solution. That is what I felt. And then say one may do some research, because the theme is different kind of research topics. And a topic for research, say one can do, particularly for this, evaluation on online education should be taken up later to understand the needs, gaps, and effectiveness in a later stage. And this is a very good topic. And I also posted a number of topics, say in the chat box, and those are useful in the context of pre and post COVID-19. And what are the common and general ideas of coping? I put something, and because sitting at home, going through different kind of newspapers, news items, scientific documents, and all kinds of things. So I felt we know, but I re-emphasized. This is the time to consider for introducing a 5-day week for work across countries for formal sectors, including higher education, with 48 hours of work per week. This is a very common thing. At least Western countries, they follow, say, 5-day week. And what is the implication? And implication is that we can reduce the load on the street. So traffic congestion we can manage with this. And also, say, the people have time for shopping and attending to household needs. So that is possible. And not running to the market and shopping malls, this and that. And they have free timing and they can have their own time slots. And they are quite aware what is happening through COVID-19. And schools with a class from 1 to 8 should remain closed until the end of December. That is my guesstimation. And fresh assessment may be made to take decision. And within this time, of course, one has to think what they will do. And say the teachers and the institutions involved must think how to keep them engaged, not with a formal curriculum for their exam, etc., etc. Maybe some other curriculum may be introduced just to keep them active under the guidance of parents. That is possible. And many cases in rural areas and tribal areas, parents are not so well educated to keep their children engaged, even if such kind of instructions are available from the schools or from the government. Specific modules and all that is very much needed. And for trade and commerce, except hotels and restaurants, the working hours should be from 8:30 to 5:30 p.m., making Sunday closed. So this the way, because again, if you think from social distancing point of view, if you think, hey, don't visit the crowded places, and for many other things, at least to restrict the mobility, and this is the way we can restrict the mobility. And during the lockdown period, you won't find anybody on the street. And I took my scooter ride just to observe what is happening on the street. And I got a very good feeling, good breeze, and very healthy environment. And that is the kind of situation. And so therefore, we have to be very, very careful. Roadside commercial activities should be restricted strictly. It is all over the country. It is not in Odisha. It is everywhere. And that those are the places of nuisance, and particularly from COVID-19 point of view. And local governments should provide alternative locations in order to lower the floating population density and meet social distancing and other requirements of COVID-19. And then what is the current situation? Almost everywhere, say, outpatient department, whether private and public hospitals, are fully closed. That means we are focusing on COVID-19, and what will happen to other people having some ailments? And you see, it's a majority of Indian population now, say, having diabetes, more than 1/3, and so therefore, once somebody having diabetes, and then it attracts many other things, and then people have some critical diseases. So it's a blood transfusion somebody requires. So where to go? And now they're going on emergency services, but OPD being closed and creating a lot of problems to the patients. They're waiting. Hey, when OPD will be opened, I'll go and check with the doctor. And even introduction of telemedicine, etc., is not going to help that much. So then restrict mobility during the festive and other occasions to avoid crowding population. And this is very, very important. And in Odisha, say after Car Festival of Puri, I think everything is restricted, and even Ganesh Puja restricted, and other functions of other religions have been restricted, and Durga Puja is under question mark. and then already government has decided you do it in the pandal with 7 people and no visitors allowed, and then you have to follow a special guideline to perform those kind of pujas for yourself, but not for others. So a lot of restrictions, and we should avoid. We should not get tempted. Hey, in that pandal, oh, it is possible we can go and have a darshan, but forget about that. And people should be self-disciplined and take decision in a way to protect themselves against the transmission of coronavirus. If they can protect the family and they can protect the community. So it is our responsibility, both individual and community. So I think with this, I finish my presentation, and thank you, the organizers, giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts. And I hope all the presentations will be circulated among the participants. And I think if anybody having any question and can raise, because time limitation may not be possible now, but questions can be raised through email, and I'll try my level best to provide the answers. So thank you very much, and I finish here my presentation. So thank you.
Thank you, Professor
Thank you.
Rautre. Thank you, Professor Rautre, for this fascinating lecture on coping with COVID-19, reflections of realities in India. You have nicely covered almost all the dimensions, especially the health and economic aspects associated with COVID-19. How we are coping with this new normal situation. Thank you, sir. Now I'm requesting the participants, if there is any questions or queries for Professor Rautre. And I'm also requesting that as we are running behind time, we will be able to take any 1 or 2 questions, if there is any.
Okay.
So I think there is no question for you, sir, as you have nicely covered all the dimensions and gave your lecture in a very detailed manner. All are satisfied with your lecture, sir. Thank you. Thank you again. And with this, may I request Dr. Shomashi Sengupta, moderator of this webinar, to introduce Professor B. Sri Ganesh, our next resource person for this webinar. Professor Dr. Shomashi Sengupta, please. Shomashi, are you there? Can you hear me?
Saifuljaman, if Somasis is not here, you can introduce Professor Sinage.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Hello.
Yes, you are audible, Saifuljaman.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. I would like to introduce Professor B. Srinagesh. He is a professor of geography and director UGC HRDC Osmania University, Hyderabad. His areas of research are urban geography, climate change and disaster management, geographical information system, and critical geography. He is the recipient of UGC Research Award during 2015 and 2017. He has been designated as geoscientist by Institute of Geospatial and Remote Sensing, Malaysia. He has also been made associate member of IGRSM. He has published 40 research papers in different peer-reviewed national and international journals, and he has 8 books. He has completed 4 major research projects funded by UGC and DST, and 1 minor project report funded by UGC. He is a subject expert for Indian Council for Cultural Relations Training Institute, Hyderabad. Thank you, sir. Please proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Saifuzaman Tarafdar. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir, you
sir.
are audible. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. At the outset, I would like to wish today's, dignitaries who are there, like Jayant Kumar Rautre sir, and our my beloved friend and my elder brother, Professor N.C. Jana, Virendra Nagarale sir, and R.B. Singh sir, who has left, my guru, and the Nilanjana Das madam, faculty at geography, and all the organizing members who have invited me to deliver this lecture. I'm thankful to one and all. So first, I just want to clarify here, what is the exact time should I stop? Now it is almost all, it is 12:15.
So
So
I request you to end it within 12:45. Is it will be
yeah,
okay?
yeah, before that, okay, 12:45 sharp, I'll stop here. So,
Okay.
friends, thank you one and all. I welcome you all once again. So, as we have been seeing that across the countries across the world are relying on a trial and error interventions to arrest the COVID-19 pandemic. But as we are seeing that even as the health systems are close to breaking down and economies are failing, while the condition of underprivileged citizens are so bad, and so what you call conditions are so critical, that the financial catastrophes and the unprecedented social pressures and the governments which are failing to provide the appropriate social security and relief is very much evident. We are seeing that. And in this aspect, how we see the population and livelihood changes. And actually this was my original topic, so I have just added population livelihood changes in COVID-19 pandemic situation and Indian experience. So if we take a look across the globe, where we see that a spike in COVID-19 cases and death seem to be the continuum across the globe, and a number of countries have seen the flattening of the curve at various points across the nearly 8 to 9 months of the pandemic prevalence. And but no sooner does the pandemic that happen, then a new spike emerges. We have seen that many of the countries, they have gone through different stages, that is stage 1, wave 2, and wave 3. Like a country like Iran, which is underreeling at wave 3, because this is a country which did not give any kind of what we call close down or economic lockdown, but it has been going on with the pandemic situation throughout without any economic lockdown or shutdown. But they have today they are experiencing a wave of the third wave. So if we see the at the global level, the trajectory which is there, it is only upward. And now we see that there are new spikes at each week, and through the increase in number of deaths that has been we have been seeing across the globe, they have been on a declining trend. So what are the measures which have been taken by the many of the world countries, like especially the Japan, New Zealand, what do you call Taiwan? They have almost all come to a zero death rates. But when we come to the countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, and Mongolia, we have seen a spike of the in the death rates over a period of time. So the situation which is what you call the which is there, that is about the second, it shows that it shows that clearly that the end of the what you call the or the break of the coronavirus, it is still far away of what we really think. The reason is that we do not actually don't know when the vaccine would come or when an appropriate drug would come. So as earlier our speaker has told about the cases across the globe, that they have crossed about more than 30 million of cases with more than 73 to 75% of recovery cases, and only 3% of the death rates which have been recorded. But when it comes to India, and when the situation which the Europeans have experienced, it was altogether a total experience, because in European countries, initially the death rates or the mortality rates were very high compared to the other regions, and the cases were more because there was more testing was taking place. But in India, the situation was so critical, is so critical, that before anything, or before only hardly 650 cases were there, we have gone for a what you call the lockdown initially. So if we see that the world scenario, where till the 17th century we had less than 1 billion of population at a given per one time. But after the Second World War, the population of the total world which was there, it has been adding every billion to every 15 to 12 to 15 years. But after 1970, it has more than doubled of what we have seen. So what are the conditions? What are the real conditions which have happened during the situation? If we see that the every 2 years, when the UN makes a projection for the population growth, it has given a median projection of about population of 9.7 billion in 2050 and 10.9 billion in 2100, because many factors affect the population growth, and it makes a range of projections depending upon different assumption. And within its 95% what you call the certainty range, what is showing in the map, the difference in population in 2100 from the highest to the lowest projection is almost 4 billion people, and more than half of the population we have today. And the average what we see here in the population, which projects that they on every other family had one fewer child and one more child than in the median projection which we have seen here. This is the which we have seen here in the median projection. So here the spike, if you can see the spike at the dotted lines, at the dotted lines here in the picture, and at this at this lines, where we see that the what we call as the minus half a child or a plus half a child per family. So this shows an enormous difference in total numbers that arise from just very small variation in family size. So the question is the reduction in the population by a what we call the new number will definitely have 3 billion people fewer by 2100, or a lower population than we already have. So here the question is that how the countries fare in this population growth. If we see by the continent wise, that more than the countries like India, Nigeria, Pakistan, Democratic Republic of Congo, others who are the most populous countries which we see here, they give us an idea of what is going to happen, how much the population is going to increase by 2050, and around 2027 what is the expected India's population, or which is to overtake China as the most populous country in the world. And about 55 countries are projected to experience a population of reduction by 2050, including China. So these things, why we are talking about this population and the fertility rates, is because that the countries like the sub-Saharan countries and the African countries, they are going to add more than half of the world people to the today's world population. And these are due to the what you call the fertility rates across the globe, and specifically in the Asia and African continents. So when this comes into picture, if you see the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Republic of Tanzania, Nigeria and Pakistan, and including India, how much is going to increase and how much is going to decrease by 2100, it is to be watched out. So when we talk about our what you call the demographic transition, so in this COVID era, where do we stand? Where, because it is a kind of a disease which has been, I mean, killing millions of people across the globe, and that too infection of 1 lakh people dying in the present context. So where does this curve, or where does this graph will have or will show in the future? So here, if we take the challenges of the what we have today in the among the people today, there is a fear among the people, millions of people, and no one has ever imagined that the entire mankind could become the victim of this one small virus. So here it is continuing. We do not know how the entire world, that is 200 country, more than 200 countries have got affected. So that has to be really give a thought, a serious thought, and which has brought the economic contagion, what you call, in spreading as fast as the disease itself. So here we should understand how and what the crisis has created. So definitely this pandemic situation is that when it is a global health crisis of our time, and the greatest global humanitarian challenge that world has faced since World War II. That is because we have seen many of the various pandemic, but not as big as the coronavirus. So it has spread widely, and the cases has been increasing, and as the government's work to slow its spread has also failed, I would like to say, because no country could able to contain it 100%, though there are some instances, but there is a reoccurrence of this virus. So India was very quick in implementing a proactive, that is initial nationwide of 21 days, but it has extended up to 60 days with a goal of flattening the curve and using the time span and resource responses adequately, because it was on the mathematical model which was suggested to the government of India initially. But we have seen that it has been totally a miscalculation and a failure to read about the situation. But instead of flattening, there has been a sharp spike in the what we call the cases across India. And as we are looking at the figures, the official figures are different and the actual COVID cases are different. So we are in a situation where, because we have been watching and we have been seeing many years, that there is no official proper information about health condition or health related issue or health related data. I would say that health related data is not available to the precision, I would say, because not 100% of data is revealed. So with that, what we see along with that, an unprecedented human toll has triggered a deep economic crisis, which definitely has put both the global and India into an economic impact that could be broader than any of the we have seen since the Great Depression. So this created a kind of a situation where there was when the government has declared the what you call, I would say that a kind of a boosting that we are going to contain the coronavirus, and which has created a kind of hardship to the millions of people, mainly the migrant laborers we have seen, and many of the thousands of people, they have walked, nearly thousands of people, they have gone through on their what you call whatever means of transport they have got. So the issue here is that the humankind was not prepared for this kind of disruption and at this scale, because this, whatever the predictions which has been done at the initial stages and which have been doing round now, it was never anticipated, and no one, and even in any of the wildest dreams, could have thought of that there would be a grinding halt, or the forces which and forcefully which will be thrust upon the people to be remain indoors. So the situation is that when the cases were less, the people were more, I would say that they were more fearful and they were more disciplined and they were more indoors. But when today, when we are seeing that the number of cases increasing alone in India at the alarming rate, we are least bothered. The reason is that the mortality rate which is there, it is very less compared to the cases which are occurring, and the recovery rate is more than 75%. So this has created a kind of confidence among the people, and keeping themselves in a kind of situation where there is saying that everything goes on. So that is the situation where we have come. That I personally feel is that very dangerous, because we have not even come to the peak stage of the wave 1. We are still experiencing the wave 1 only. The peak stage is yet to come. And there are reports from the CCMB that there are almost all 8 crores of people might have affected and it might have gone, according to their study, because there were many people who were asymptomatic. And today, the whatever the deaths are occurring, they are due to the comorbidities. So how do we see this pandemic is very important. So this kind of what you call the, I would say that the earth has unleashed what you call its wrath on inhabitants, or what we call say that nature is telling the people that it balances itself. So it is for us to understand what is going on. But among this all, who is the most what you call the group of people who are the sufferers? It is the poor, the underprivileged. They are the people who are paying a very high and painful price. When thousands of people were going by walk, no single government came forward. The people who were moving by walk to reach them to the, it is only the philanthropists, or it is on the individuals or the NGOs which have come forward, which have made them move to their native destinations. So this lockdown has definitely created an economic crisis, and it is of a different thing, and it has hit all the economic giants of the world, including the superpowers, including like Russia, China, and what you call the G7 nations. But the question here is, where do we stand, and what is there for the coming generations, and where the world, today's world, then what solution it is going to give for the future generation? And as per the International Labour Organization, there were more than 2.5 crores who were rendered jobless with this COVID-19. And India, has the highest number of unemployed people in the world. We do not know what is the actual figure, unemployed figure today, because as such we have high rate of unemployment, and this COVID-19 adding to that rate of unemployment. You just imagine the kind of scenario is going to be there in the next 6 months. Already we have experienced about 6 months, 6 to 8 months of crisis. And all you have seen, because we have seen that many of the our economy, it is the what you call it is unorganized sector, informal sector. So this has created really a kind of a situation where people are being made to suffer like anything. And still, we do not have any kind of concrete evidence from the what you call the government. So when we talk about the last 5 years of unemployment rate, it has doubled. The unemployment rate has doubled, and now it might have gone to 3 to 4 times. And the future of the youth, it definitely remains bleak and uncertain. So the question is, first of all, when the cases were less, we had a lockdown. And when the cases are increasing at an alarming rate, we have opened everything. So here, it shows us that we, as an Indians, we have failed ourselves, because we do not the government do not have any solution or answer to that. The question is, how long this the lockdown continue for the poor and the vulnerable? It is very important for the people, for the what do you call the industries and the organizations to reopen and bring in all the people who were there on rolls in pre-COVID condition. But we are seeing in Telangana alone, there are 2,400 schools. They have been overtaken by different managements, because 6 months they couldn't pay salaries to the teachers, because they were not being paid. The students were not paying the fees. You see the link. So 2,400 schools have been, the managements have been changed. So what about the condition of this is one of, because we are in the teaching community, I'm just giving that example about the teachers who will be removed. Because for 100 or 200 people coming on to the online, you can easily have one teacher. We don't need 10 teachers in 10 different schools. So here the question is about the untold economic damage which has been done, and about the health issues. We are totally failed. We have been, the country as such has been failed, because there are no beds to provide the proper hospitals or infrastructure to provide the facilities to the patients. So the only people, so who are the persons who are away from this damage? It is only the affluent and the people with resources. They themselves are. And if you see the income of Ambani, it has been increased from 2.5, 2.7 billions of rupees to 6.5 billions. It has gone in just 6 months. What it is indicating, that is very a serious thing we need to discuss. So here the government's attention towards the poor, towards the plight of the poor and the migrants and the daily wage earners and the unemployed and the farmers, it has been a kind of a shortcomings at all sections of these people which we have mentioned here. And I'm sorry to say this. I'm really sorry to use to these words, that we should not be in surprise if there are more people who commit suicide by death or by starvation or by the disease itself, because a kind of a stigma has been created among the people. And I would like to quote here that even in the spread of COVID in Telangana's villages has been faster. And similarly, the rate of deaths have been faster, because they are fearing that if it is a kind of a social stigma going to occur on them. And in that process, they are losing lives. That is very dangerous. So here we need to make ourselves to come over all these things. And it has already, if you see the supply chain system and the economic ecosystem, it has broken down. The spread has already, it has a large negative impact on labor supply and the earnings of the workers, and the supply management system which is there, it has been broken. And the consequences will definitely have harsh consequences on the younger workers who are living in an era of the big the economy, and which represents more of a daily wage earners and unstable employment and lower income. So this what we call the world economy, it is enduring a staggering downturn with the spread of COVID-19. And we do not know how the people who have lost their livelihood, they are suffering with the immediate short-term losses of in income and employment. So there is a strain of income resulting from the decline in the economic activity and which has devastated the workers, and which has who are already below the poverty line, and it has brought them to the brink of the to the gates of the death. It is a true what we are discussing. So the occupations, each and every, even as I said, even teaching occupation is no exception. Many of the private institute, they might have lost their, or they might be have been put on bench without any activity. So these have definitely created a kind of the situation where the government need to take an important assessment over the economic crisis. So when we, and the important thing is that the communities are losing hope. Why the communities are losing hope? Because there is no proper what do you call assurance from any one of the, or any one of the what do you call the high profile people. Today there is no I mean, we are not able to, the visibility of health secretary from the government of India and health minister, there is no visibility of them. There is no proper concrete what do you call assurance from them. So people are I mean, they are just losing hope. The people who are engaged in informal sector, who had returned to their villages from the urban areas, they were asked, they were being asked to, what is that they are going to do in the next 2 years, and what is that they are going to attain in these 2 years. And if it is not, then what should be the do, and what should be the future? So it says that there are uncertainty in the labor market has definitely led to a large questions across the what you call people. So here I would just like to quote make this one in the economic scenarios of the world. So this has what we see here, what would be the projection real Indian GDP rate. So the projections which are been given here, all have been proved wrong, because the today's the GDP which is there, it is minus 23.9. Just imagine what would be the situation in the next 6 months. Are we going to get our salaries in the next 6 months? That is the biggest question we have today. So the scenario, the contraction or the contract of the GDP which has been come down, it has to be really looked in terms of a serious issues. And as per our economic model, which suggests that the scenario is relatively quick to rebound. So if it is going to rebound, how? We need to tell the people, the government need to tell how it is going to rebound. And the livelihood of the 8 million workers who have migrated into, who are basically in the informal sector, who are the informal workers, what is their life and what is their livelihood going to be there? And subsequently the exponential figure which will come out because the people who are dependent upon them, all these we need to take it into account. And then the corporates or the MSME which is there, and the loans which were taken by these corporates and the MSMEs, how we are going to stabilize it. And the small household incomes who have taken loan to establish their businesses, how we are going to establish it? All these are the questions which we need to answer. So if you see this one, the impact of scenario 2, if that continues beyond mid May 2020, the impact, if you see what is the percentage, you see everything is, and even the telecommunications actually, which is was the only source of medium, that is also going to 0 to 5%, which is the least one. But still we can see what are the share of GDP across the world. So here what I just want to see, what to see is that, sorry. So here, if you see this one, just before one last slide. So how we are going to, just last 2 minutes we have. So if you see the initiatives which need to be taken for the survival of the vulnerable, sustenance of the demand, and surge investment to meet the global opportunities and structural reform. So these things we need to keep in mind. So then next, what has to be done is the biggest question. So build the aspirations of the people. That is very important. The lack of hope in the future and low aspirations, these are the two typical characteristics which the poor people have. So psychologically, we need to build up them, and we need to give them empirical evidence and demonstrate that the whatever analysis is there, it is incomplete, and they should be a kind of positive thought should be sent to the people, saying that these should be it is a short term loss, and you will be given other what you call kind of alternative employment which the people to meet their daily ends. So to boost the individual aspiration, so how do we boost? That is very important. So here only nothing but they need only job. That is what we need to show them. So if you are showing any job, it is there in local place or any other place, because we have seen that before lockdown only those who have migrated to the native place, they have come back to their job place. So this is how, because they found that it is better to work in this COVID situation rather than dying at their native place without any job. So the idea, the outcome should be, the policy must be, it is evidence based. The evidence should be produced to the people to protect their social and economic conditions of the poor, and also those who have lost the what you call their livelihood, and they should be given an assurance that this is a short term scenario, and they should be given a kind of an employment opportunity to keep them alive. Thank you. If any questions, I would like to take it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Srinagesh.
Sir. Any questions?
Hello. So thank you, Professor Srinagesh, for your excellent deliberation. So due to paucity of time, we will directly move on to the next speaker. We have, it's a privilege for us to have with us Professor Dr. Virendra Nagarale. So sir, are you connected?
Yes, I'm connected.
So sir, with the kind approval, I'll just introduce you to all our distinguished participants. So Professor Virendra Nagarale is currently in the Department of Geography of SNDT Women's University, Mumbai, of the Pune campus, India. He has completed Master of MSc in Geography and did his doctoral research on groundwater hydrology and management. He is a recipient of Professor B. Hemamalini Eminent Geographer Award 2019 by the National Association of Geographers of India, NAGI, and also the recipient of Best Teacher Award honored by the Pune Municipal Corporation, Pune. He has published more than 35 research papers in reputed journals and presented more than 40 research papers in the international, national, and other conferences. He has currently guided 14 MPhil and 10 PhD students successfully, and currently about 3 PhD students are under his direct supervision. He has completed 2 research projects funded by the University Grants Commission, and currently working as a project director in the ICCSR research projects. And also Professor Nagarale has worked as coordinator for several IIRS, and various university and GIS outreach programs. So I would like to now request Dr. Nilanjana Das Chatterjee, the chairperson of this session, to carry on with the proceedings. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I congratulate to the organizers to organizing such nice topic in your in college. So I congratulate the principal and all other members. Morning we discuss actually Professor RB Singh, our guru, and then Professor Rautre, Sri Nagesh, everyone discuss about the topic. So today I am going to be discuss about the topic of impact of changing dynamics COVID-19 spread in Pune Municipal Corporation. Why I choose this specific, considering the students who join in this meeting. So how geographer, because our topic, our today's webinar topic, researching through the geographical aspect. So this pandemic situation and geographer, maybe a research student, MPhil, PhD, or maybe a postgraduate student, how they can approach for this COVID-19 situation or study. So if you see that today, just earlier speaker already told about the situation in India. We crossed the 1 lakh COVID deaths, and if we think about the India situation, Maharashtra is the topmost, almost more than 37,000 cases. And among the Maharashtra, last few days, Pune is one of the important metropolitan in India as a Maharashtra second city, is the highest number of COVID cases. So, how a geographer in other way he or she can take initiative for COVID-19. So, considering the present scenario, so see, we are facing already various viral diseases already. Professor R.B. Singh says that from Nika, then SARS, and all other viral diseases. So, this present condition, one of the important aspect to discuss the COVID impact, which is just now Professor Sinage discussed, not only economic, social, but individual psychological. So how the economy, not only the world economy, but the Indian economy, the state economy, and the other associated number of parallel economies are affected by this COVID-19. So there are various efforts made by the various authorities to stop the spreading this COVID-19. That first was declared by the lockdown. Then again there is some positive impacts of lockdown, but not necessarily all positive impact. Then mission begin again by the government of India, as well as the each and every state, they have the different missions. Mission begin again. So in this total scenario, cities are facing enormous problem by the COVID impact. This is because of urban scenario of each and every, you can say, million plus cities or metropolitans or mega cities. So the spreading of pandemic, how this spreading can correlate with the geographical scenario, especially urban geography, and how urban geography, the geographer can do a certain. This is actual part I have already submitted for this particular one project, and I'm currently working on this for the project. So how geographer and geographers geographic tools can be useful to study. So we have, fortunately, there are some positive impact. Most of the international journals and most of they make available themselves a COVID-related research paper. So these are some research paper as per as the student concerned. What researcher or various done for the spread and dynamics of the COVID-19 throughout the world. So, Strozewski in May 20, they identify the various potential determinants to describe the spread of this particular diseases, and use that factors considered by means demographic structure, societal characteristics, economic performance, healthcare infrastructure, etc. So, the Bayesian model averaging the measured duration for pandemic countries. So that's why here in the present study, my student and we both consider the actual changes in the COVID patient, the death, and the changes according to the administrative divisions of the Pune city. So like in this particular paper, the author argues that the demographic structure may impact the average susceptibility of the population to a disease. So average susceptibility in any metropolitan, any city, how that affect on the individual as well as the society. And Harpan also did his research, provided an exhaustive review of literature extending from the origin to the transmission, treatment, diagnosis, and management of the disease. So this article also very useful to researchers who are going to study. Then Lee also made the undocumented infectious cases in the geographical spread in the epidemic of China, Wuhan case selected. Then Pag also make all this. So like that, we have to think what methods they have used and on the basis. So for the students, this is a simple methodology. We can add more when we are getting more and more objectives. So the population research article, the population data, then how you tabulate the population with daily data of COVID-19 patients. So for daily data, you have prepared the maps with where you can see how the situation. So in the present case study, in this presentation, the Pune Municipal Corporation, which is having the 15 administrative wards with 144 electoral wards, and this can show you in the next map. So population changes in the Pune Municipal Corporation, and the total population in 2011 was almost 30 lakhs. Now it increases up to 42 lakhs. And this you can see. This is the actual Pune Municipal Corporation, Pune area, Pune district. This is the municipal corporation area based on the cantonment, and how researcher can do his or her study with the help of urban structure, urban phenomena, nonetheless. So, at the first sight, we divide all this Pune Municipal Corporation in the various administrative wards. These are the 15 administrative wards, and out of this 144 administrative electoral ward, how many wards comprise with this particular administrative ward, the total population, and SC and ST population. Why SC and ST population considered? Because the most of the time, the spread of pandemic is observed in the slum or the highly densely populated area. So ward population, whether it's related with the lower strata of the society, that's why we discuss the SC and ST population in that particular ward. Is there any correlation between this population concentration with the particular strata? So this is actually this is the first slide in which how all these administrative ward offices are there. The data collected from this ward officer, it may be visible or not, don't know. But the next slide you can easily observe. So the subdivisions of that ward and the date on which that particular, you can see how ward-wise positivity patterns, patient summary I have given here. So this is not only for some month, but this is up to the end of September. So these are some, see, which type of study is carried out. So the ward, in the ward, how much pravas, means of wards are there, and total number of patient in that particular ward, and active patient. So this total number of patients and active patient give us trend. Which ward is having the number of patients higher, active patients higher, and what is the correlation? Is there a geographical situation of that particular ward? What is the spread, and what is the other social conditions? What are the other services available in that particular ward? So like this, you can see this is the situation. The very first or second week of our COVID impact, after the 22nd of March, the lockdown start. So this is the situation. In the month of, in the first week of month of April, you can see the maximum concentration of cases of patient observed in this particular core area. So how this scenario changes and why the changes. You can see at present in the today is the 3rd of October. You can see this is my residence. Go through ward 1. The only one patient is there, but the last week of September, the second highest numbers found in this go through. So spread, is there any geographical relation? Is there any other factors which is responsible to rising trend in different wards, and how? So you can see in the April month, then again this you can see the death ratio, so number of death cases in the so there are nil death. You can see this, and there is an increasing death cases in the. But I will show you the entire scenario. Then we'll discuss about the impact. So you can see this is the ward-wise corona patient in the last week of the April. You can see the total number of positive, and with this total are mapped. And on the basis of the, you can see the total. This is the May, in the 15th May, in the July. So like this, the cases, you can see how the cases. You see in the month of July, there are almost 300 cases as compared to the only not a single death but only one case. So you can see how this spread. So we have to understand the dynamics, how this is changing, and this is the actual in a geographical parameter. We can correlate this with S-sex distribution, male-female distributions, how this and positive males, positive female. You can see that this how and their age structure, how this patient scenario, not only the spatial but temporal with various weeks in the various month has been discussed in this particular. You can see the positive cases trend. You can see from the 1st May to 15th May. This is the trend, and this is the total number of cases. You can see the next in the total number of positive cases as on 20th May. You can see the next with the positive cases. So total cases, active cases. So if you see the higher numbers and the numbering ratio, so this can give an idea and then analysis for this particular can be possible. So this is the July scenario. So total number of cases and the cases how they are increasing. See, earlier this was the higher number of cases. See, this in the first figure you can see in the first diagram this Kasba Vishram. This is the having higher number of cases, but now it's increasing. You can see the 1st September scenario. So this is the positive cases. See the positive cases. These are the picture of positive cases, and the first September. And September is the month where the highest number of cases. But there is one observation: the higher number of cases intimated by the authorities, not merely from the Pune city, because the surrounding regions or surrounding districts, they want to take a treatment from the Pune. That's why there is an announcement of a jumbo COVID hospitals in Pune, because there is pressure by the outsider. So that's why the scenario. So for the actual cases required by the various ward, administrative ward. That's why this scenario. So number of counts are different than the total counts, which is you maybe read in the newspaper. But such type of number of counts in administrative wards can help to identify. So this is a ward-wise period. This current September, the 3rd September. I'm giving some samples. The 3rd September case, and this is the 2nd September. How those changes are there? So these are the changes. You can say again the 7th after the break of 1 week, 7th September. The total number of patients, grand total. So how these are decreasing. Then you can how the total entire up to the 16th of September, the average. So how this total number of counts, the bracket shows the earlier days count. How this changes can have a different. So this is the September end, this is the 29th of September. So if you see the total number of changes, or you can have the average, you can see this is 2000, and now you can see it's become 1000 only. So how the spread dynamics has been changed? Which are the factors? Which are the parameters? Which type of precaution has been carried out by the government authorities as well, social organizations as well? So if you see, I am giving you the positivity rate. In the month of September, the rate has highest, 30%. Now, up to the 29th of September, it decreased by 25%, and now it comes down to up to 20%. If you see the distribution, because most of the time, the Pune city is comprises with the Pune city, Pimpri-Chinchwad is the twin city, and the district they are them. So total number of counts, death counts is shown. But if you see the highest number of death counts, you can see the highest number of death count observed in the month of September. And you can see the infection and death, and the now positivity rate is decreasing in the Pune city. So these are the some news. You can see how the 1.25 lakh patients are recovered in the Pune city. So why there is a need of isolation, and the impact maybe from the tomorrow, day after tomorrow, because after from the Monday there is a opening of hotels and restaurants and bar with the 50% of capacity. So in the first time, the Pune situation is very good. Only 50% of the total active patients are there now. So like this you can have the yesterday's only news. You can see this is the situation. So the activity they dropped near about 30,000 only. You can see the areas, the death rates and recovery rates. So Maharashtra slowed down, and in Pune actually so these are the some news associated with the spread and the spreading. So what is the current situation? What is, as a geographer, as a research or observation? You can see these are the some observation. This observation can give a clue for the analysis of dynamics and spread of coronavirus in the Pune municipal corporation. You can see at the beginning period, the last week of the March and the spread and transmission from March to April is concentrated only the 2-3 wards, the Bhawanipet and the Kasba Pet. These are the wards which is comprises is very close and vulnerable in the core places, having the high density of population, having the more population of the scheduled castes and the laborers, and having the living space. But the small size of population, which is now affecting in the outskirts wards also. So the observation in the March and April months, so small and large population with high density area, these two wards of one bit, had more susceptible and speed of transmission. Almost 145 containment zones are in Pune. So in the month of September, the highest speed. I was visited one place in the last week. So when I informed them I am from the Pune. So Pune that time, Pune was the number 1 city in India having the maximum number of corona positive patients and top one. So how this administrative wards having the different geographical location. So in a geographical situation, so high density area, the location The Prabhag area, the location also plays. In the literature review, we can already discuss, the location of the area also plays a major role, and that's why if you see the location of that two areas, how they are, and they are more susceptible. Even the number of deaths occurred due to the coronavirus in the particular period is skewed toward the high population density. And it's obviously, if you take the example of Dharavi, and now the herd immunity. So, like now in Bhawanipet and that Korea, they have the herd immunity. The most maximum number of deaths are observing. You see the S6 pyramid like that. The S6 distribution, so the patient scenario, the age group of 21 to 30, 31 to 40 are more susceptible and the spread transmission of coronavirus, whereas the group 51 to 60 and 61 to 70 are more vulnerable to the death because of comorbidity and other parameters. But the male are always active than the females in the Pune scenario, and obviously so observed in the other place. And the patient with the 51 to 60 group is more susceptible in male. So in the analysis from the April month, it can be observed number of active patients increased the 5 times from the 18 days. In the observation of May, you can have the it's a triple in the 28 days. Means that doubling, tripling, 5 times are higher in the month of April and May in that particular wards. But now the outskirts part, they have the increasing. So if you cross with the month of July, in the 8 July scenario I heard, it has been drastically in the ward which is high population density as well as the higher population and with the slum population. But to check with the corona positive cases in the month of September, so number of positive cases, the peak in the Pune, so the next phase of transmission, now we are getting some relaxation because now the rate is dropping in the Pune. So in the 9th September, the cases were 2,800, and on 2nd of October, it comes down to almost 50%, that is 1,000 patient cases. So like that, so we can discuss how the herd immunity and the structure, you can have the structure, you can see the structure of this particular ward, and so this active patient isolation and these cases, you can see the ward population. These are some ward population can give us some conclusions how this are. So these are some observation how this can be. So you will see the impact already discussed on the impact. I'm starting from my own society. I'm living in that. I already discussed you. See this. I already discussed you about the changing pattern of transmission and dynamics in Pune city. I'm living in one of the clean and very safety area in the Pune, but now we have the highest number of patients. There was not a single patient in our administrative ward. Now we are having more than 200 patients. Even if you think about my society, we don't have any single patient till the month of June, but July suddenly rises, and now in my society, out of 77 flats, more than 20 patients are there. In even my house, my maid has. But how this impacts on the other people? If you think about the impact on various aspects, the Pune city is considered.
Mr. Nagarale, sound is not connection that.
Yes, problem is there. Hello. Yes. Is audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, Pune city. In three sectors in terms of economy. I'm dividing Pune city. One is having the Hinjewadi IT park by the Mursi. Yes, 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 madam. Then Telco, Mercedes-Benz, and Bajaj is the second industrial sector. And third is the Pune treated as one of the important in terms of defense. That is three cantonment, having the only city having the three cantonment. So considering this all parameters, what are the impacts? What are the societal impact? Take this the impact on various sectors. So we start from the unorganized sectors. Most of the unorganized, like the daily wagers, the maids, the drivers, are facing, and there is a very huge crisis among them. Take the example of my society. People are not ready to allow them for the maid, allow them to come society, and they're not ready to allow to come inside the society. How they can survive? This is from lower strata or unorganized sector to organized sector like the lockdown in the industrial scenario, like the various industrial, like the telco, they have the Mercedes. So, and as per as teachers or research, most of the schools they are facing the problem of this pandemic and the indirect effect on the drivers which are associated with the school, the canteen which are associated with the school, the all other facilities which are associated with the school, and the psychology of the student. And just now, why I requested Professor Zana, I have to finish by 1:15 because 2 o'clock I have to present for the online exams, MCQ exams for the university students. So all are, so they have the psychological problem, they have the economic problem. So this damages, untold damages, rightly said by the Professor C. Nagesh, this untold damages in terms of economic, social, industrial, individual, and this lead by the information which received by the various social media. That's why one speaker in earlier one webinar, he nomenclatures this disease as is an infodemic, information media, and that creates a problem. So the impact, the various impact, and such type of word-wise impact on education, and how this impact with the services, civil services available in that particular ward, population structure, sex structure, and that can be helpful for the particular study of research. So I think I have to stop here because I have to make lecture. If anyone have any difficult, any query, you can ask. I have made very simple because considering the student, he or she can or one can do this topic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Nagrale, for finishing your lecture in time. As you all know that we are running behind time, without wasting more time, I'd like to switch over to Professor Narayan Chandra Jana, Department of Geography and coordinator, former head, the University of Burdwan, and I must say the most active geographer in West Bengal. So may I request Somashis to introduce Jana sir? Somashis, are you there? I think Somashis is not present. So Saiful Jaman, are you
Okay,
there?
I'm introducing, sir.
Okay, please.
Professor Nayachandra Jana, a professor of Department of Geography, the University of Burdwan, is also former head. He is an applied geographer with a postgraduate and doctoral degree in geography, postgraduate degree in disaster management, PG Diploma in Sustainable Rural Development and Diploma in Tourism Studies. He's contributed about 100 research papers and publications in various national, international authored books. He authored 3 books and jointly edited 5 books. Dr. Jana was also actively engaged in postdoctoral research and teaching in Center for Study of Regional Development, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, for the 5 years. He was the Vice President of National Association of Geographers, India, NEGI, New Delhi, and he was the convener of 33rd Indian Geography Congress 2011 and 35th Indian Geographer Meet on 2013 and 15th IGU India International Conference in 2020. Dr. Jana was also deputy coordinator of UGC SAP DRS program and was also coordinator of DST FIST program 2012 to 13. He is an BRS member of in Geography Department of Geography, University of Gorpongo, Malda, West Bengal. Professor Jana has been recently nominated for a steering committee member in IGU Commission of Research Methodology in Geography. I would like to request Professor Jana for proceeding his presentation. Please, sir.
Hello. I think there is a network problem with Professor Jana.
Oh.
That's why he is not able to rejoin. He called me that his network has been lost. So, Chairperson,
Yes. Jana sir may come.
What can we do?
May have come.
So may I conclude this first session?
I think we should, because Professor Jana is not able to join with us.
Okay.
I think he will join in the afternoon session.
Okay. So with this, we are going to conclude the first session of the webinar on researching in geography and allied disciplines, pre and post COVID-19 pandemic situation. This session, we got 3 beautiful presentations of 3 eminent resource persons, Professor Rautre, Professor Sriganis, and Professor Nagrale. And it is very interesting to observe that being a geographer, I must say that nowadays we are suffering from collecting data from our field. As geography is a spatial science, and we the geographers have to collect information and data with the help of survey and collecting data from primary information. So in that sense, we are lacking for that. But very interestingly, as a very dynamic subject, geography switch over their area of research and the approaches of our research from primary data collection information towards analyzing secondary information. Professor Rautre gave his lecture on the overall situation of the neo-normal situation of the world. Professor Sriganis gave information on the livelihood changes, how the people are suffering as the impact of COVID-19 nowadays, specifically the poor and the migrant workers and the laborers who are suffering most. And Professor Nagrale gave his lecture on the impact of changing dynamics COVID-19 spread in Pune Municipal Corporation based on the primary information I think. So these 3 lectures gave 3 different dimensions of research in post-COVID situation. So thank you all the resource persons. And with this, I conclude the first session of this seminar. And now I'd like to switch over to Ashim Kumar Sarkar, the joint convener of this webinar. Ashim Kumar Sarkar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for please say okay. Thank you, Professor Nilendra Chatterjee, ma'am, and for chairperson for this webinar, and Dr. Mukund Mishra for the co-chairperson and for this webinar. And also, I like to convey my gratitude to Dr. Somashishan Gupta and also the Mr. Nonigopal Kapashia and Sanjay Ghosh for the performing the rapporteur for this session. For this session, we also thank you, Dr. Professor Jayant K. Rautray, for his nice and exclusive presentation, for Virendra Nargale and Professor Narayan Chandra for his for some difficulties. He will continue from